Hi guys, I'm Ruth. Today we will continue reading Alice in Wonderland. Let's start. She got up and went to the table to measure herself by it and found that, as nearly as she could guess, she was now about to feed it and was going on jerking rapidly. She soon found out that the cause of this was the fan she was holding, and she dropped it in hastily just in time to save herself from squirming away altogether. "That was a narrow escape," said Alice, and good deal grieved at the sudden change, but very glad to find herself still in existence. "And now for the garden!" And they ran with all speed back to the little door. But alas, the little door was shut again, and the little golden key was lying on the glass table as before, and things are worse than ever, thought the poor child, "for I never was so small as this before, never, and I declare it's too bad that it is." As she said this word, her foot slipped, and in another moment splash. There was up to her chin in salt water. Her first idea was that she had somehow fallen into the sea, and in that case I can go back by railway. She said to herself. Alice had been to the seaside once in her life, and had gone to the general conclusions that wherever you go to on the English coast, you find a number of waiting machines in the sea. Some children digging in the sand with wooden spades, then a row of longest houses, and behind them a railway stations. However, she soon made out that she was in the pool of tears which she had picked when she was 9 feet high. "I wish I had cried so much," said Alice, as she went about trying to find her way out. "I small be punished for it now, I suppose, by begin drowning in my own tears. That will be a curate thing, to be sure. However, everything is curate today." Just then she heard something splashing about in the pool a little way off, and she swam nearer to make out what it was. At first she thought it must be a walrus or hippopotamus, but then she remembered how small she was now, and she soon made out that it was only a mouse that had slipped in little herself. "Would it be of any use now," thought Alice, "to speak to this mouse? Everything is so out of the way down here that I should think very likely it can talk. At any rate, there's no harm in trying." So she began. "Oh, mouse, do you know the way out of this pool? I am very tired of swimming about here." "A mouse?" Alice thought this must be the right way of speaking to a mouse. She had never done such a thing before, but she remembered having seen in her brother's Latin grammar A mouse, oh a mouse, to a mouse, oh a mouse. The mouse looking at her rather inquisitively and seemed to her to wink with one of these little eyes, but it said nothing. Perhaps it doesn't understand English, thought Alice. I dare say it's a French mouse. Come over with William the Conqueror, for with all her knowledge of history, Alice had no very clear notion how long ago anything had happened. So she began again. Oh, it's meant, chattel, which was the first sentence in her French lesson book. The mouse came a Sunday leap of the water and seemed to carry all over with fright. Oh, I beg your pardon, cried Alice hastily, afraid that she had hurt the poor animal's feelings. I quite forgot you did like cats. No, like cats, cried the mouse in a shrill, passionate voice. Would you like cats if you were me? Well, perhaps not, said Alice in a soothing tone. Don't be angry about it, and yet I wish I could show you our cat Dina. I think you take a fancy to cats if you could only see her. She is such a dear kitty, Alice went on, half to herself as she swam Alice about in the pool, and she sits purring so nicely by the fire, licking her paws and washing her face, and she is such a nice soft thing to nurse, and she's such a capital one for catching mice. Oh, I beg your pardon, cried Alice again, for this time the mouse was bristling all over, and she felt certain it must be really. Often. We won't talk about her any more if you'd rather not. We needn't, cried the mouse, who was trembling down to the end of his tail, as if I would talk on such a subject. Our family always had cats, nasty, long, vulgar thing. Don't let me hear the name again. I won't either, said Alice, in a great hurry to change the subject of conversation. Are you fond of dogs? The mouse did not answer, so Alice went on eagerly. There is such a nice little dog near our house. I should like to show you. A little brick-tailed terrier, you know, with all such long, curly, drawn hair, and ill-fitting way you throw them, until say you and beg for its dinner, all sorts of things. I can remember all of them, and it belongs to a farmer, you know. He said it's so useful. It's worth £100. He said it kills all the rats and... Oh dear, cried Alice in a sorrowful tone. I'm afraid if often eat again, for the mouse was swimming away from here as hard as it could go, and making quite a commotions in the pool as it went. So she called softly after it. Mouse dear, do come to come back again, and we won't talk about cats or dogs either if you don't like them. When the mouse heard this, it turned around and swung slowly back to her. Its face was pale with passion, Alice thought, and it said in a low, trembling voice, "Let us get to the shore, and then I'll tell you my history, and you'll understand why it is I hate cats and dogs." It was his time to go, for the ball was getting quite crowded with the birds and animals that had fallen into it. There was a duck and a dodo, a lorry, an angels, and several other curious creatures. Alice led the way, and the whole party went to the shore. Chapter 3. A cactus race and a long tail. They were in then a carol-looking party that assembled on the bank. The birds with draggled feathers, the animals with their clinging claws to them, and all dripping well, cross, and uncomfortable. The first question, of course, was how to get try again. They had a consultation about this, and after a few minutes, it seemed quite natural to Alice to find herself talking familiarly with them, as if she had known them all her life. Indeed, she had quite a long argument with the lorry, who at last turned sulky, and would only say, "I am older than you, and must know better," and this Alice would not allow, without knowing how old it was, and as the lorry positively refused to dare its age, there was not more to be said. At last the mouse, who seemed to be a person of some authority among them, called out, "Sit down, all of you, and listen to me. I'll soon make you dry enough." They all sat down at once in a large ring, with the mouse in the middle. Alice kept her eyes anxiously fixing on it, for she felt sure she would catch a bad cold if she did not get right very soon. "Ahem," said the mouse with an important air. "Are you all ready? This is the dressing thing, I know. Ceilings all around, if you please." William the Conqueror house was favored by the Pope, was soon submitting to by the English, who wanted learning and had been of late much accustomed to usurpations and conquest. Edwin and Markham, the earls of Mercia and Northumbria. Said the lorry with a shiver. "I beg your pardon," said the mouse, frowning but very politely. "Did you speak?" Not I," said the lorry hastily. "I thought you did," said the mouse. "I proceed." Edwin and Markham, the heirs for Mercia and Northumbria, declared for him, and even Stephen, the patriotic Archbishop of Canterbury, found it advisable. Found what? Said the duck. Found it? The mouse replied rather crossly. Of course, you know what it means. I know what it means well enough when I feel I think, said the duck. It's generally a frog or a worm. The question is, what did the archbishop find? The mouse did not notice these questions, but hurriedly went on. Found it advisable to go with Edgar Alcott to meet William and offer him the ground. William's conduct and fear was moderate, but the insolence of his Normans. How are you getting on now, my dear? It continued, turning to Alice as it spoke. As well as ever, said Alice in a melancholy tone. It doesn't seem to drink me at all. In that case, said the dodo solemnly, rising to its feet, I move that the mating endures for the immediate adaptations of more energetic remedies. Speak English, said the elch. I don't know the making of all those long words, and what's more, I don't believe you do either. And the Egypt went down his head to hide a smile. Some of the others were tittered audibly. What I was going to say, said the dodo in an open tone. Was that the best time to get us dry wolby and cows race? What is cows race? Said Alice. Not that she much wanted to know, but the dodo had paused as if it thought say somebody ought to speak, and no one else seemed inclined to say anything. Why, said the dodo, the best way to explain it is to do it, and as you may like to try the thing yourself. Some winter day, you know the dodo managed it. First in market out a rice course in a store of circle, the exact shape doesn't matter, it said, and then all the party were placed along the course, here and 3. There was not 1, 2, 3, and away. But they began running when they liked it and left on when they liked, so that it was not easy to know when the race was over. However, when they had been running half an hour so, and were quite right again, the dodo suddenly called out, "The race is over!" And they all crowded around it, panting and asking, "But who was won?" These questions the dodo could not answer. We don't agree that or shrugged and insisted for a long time with one finger pressed upon its forehead. The position in which you usually see Shakespeare in the pictures of him, while the rest waited in silence. At last the dodo said, "Everybody has won, and all must have prizes. But who is to give the prizes?" A chorus of voices asked. "Why, she, of course," said the dodo, pointing to Alice with no finger, and the whole party at once crowded round her, calling out in a confused way, "Prizes, prizes!" Alice has no idea what to do, and in despair she put her hand into her pocket and pulled out a box of confit. Luckily, safe water had not gone into it, and had them run up prices, there was exactly one apiece around. But she must have a prize herself, you know, said the mouse. Of course, the dodo replied ever gravely. What else have you got in your pocket? She went on talking to Alice. Only a thimble, said Alice sadly. Hand it over here, said the dodo. Then they all crowded round her once more, while the dodo solemnly presented the thimble, saying, "We want your acceptance of this elegant thimble." And when it had finished this short speech, they all shouted. Alice thought the whole thing very absurd, but they all looking so grave that she did not dare to laugh. And as she could not think of anything to say, the simple woman went and took the thimble, looking as solemn as she could. The next thing was to eat the confit. This caused some noise and confusion, as the large birds complained that they could not downstairs, and the small owls choked and had to be patted on the bank. However, it was over at last, and they sat down again in a ring, and began the mouse to tell them something more. "He promised to tell you his story, you know," said Alice. "And why it is you hide? C and D," she added in a whisper, half afraid that it would be opened again. "Mine is a long and a sad tale," said the mouse, turning to Alice and singing. "It is a long tale, certainly," said Alice, looking down with wonder of the mouse's tail. "But why do you call it sad?" And she kept on puzzling about it while the mouse was speaking. So that her idea of the tale was something like this. For he said to a mouse that he met in the mouse, "Let us both go to law. I will prosecute you. Come, ill take no denial. We must have a trial. For really this morning, if nothing to do," said the mouse to the court, "such a trial there, sir, while no jury are, such a will be wasting, or read, ill witches, saying cunning all for him, he'll try to walk house and condemn you to death." "You are not attending," said the mouse to Alice severely. "What are you thinking of?" "I beg your pardon," said Alice very humbly. "You had not to the fig bank, I think." "I had not," cried the mouse, sharply and very angrily. "Act not," said Alice, always ready to make herself useful and looking anxiously about her. "Oh, do let me help to undo it." "I shall do nothing of the sort," said the mouse, getting up and walking away. You insult by you insult me by talking shoes. Nonsense! I didn't mean it, planing poor Alice. But you're so easily offended. You know, the mouse only gravely interrupted. Please come back and finish your story. Alice called after it, and the others all going in chorus. Yes, please do. But the mouse only shook its head emphatically and walked a little kicker. What a pity it would stay, singing the lorry and sound as it was kind of out of sync. And an old crowd took the opportunity of saying to her daughter, "Ah, my dear, leave this beast a lesson to you never to lose your temper." "Hold your tongue, ma," said the young girl a little snappily. "You're enough to try the patience of an oyster." "I wish I had our Dina here. I know I do," said Alice along, addressing nobody in particular. She'd soon faded in back. "And who is Dina, if I might venture to ask the questions?" said the lorry. Alice replied eagerly, for she was always ready to talk about her pet, Dina's or cat, and she shoots a capital one for catching mice. You can't think. And oh, I wish you could see her after the bears. Why, she's held a little bird as soon as look at it. This speech caused a remarkable sensation among the party. Some of the bears hurried off at once. One old maggot began dropping itself very carefully, remarking, "I really must be getting home. The night air doesn't suit my throat." And a canary called out in a trembling voice to its children, "Come away, my dears! It's high time you were all my dead." Oh, various pretexts. They all moved off, and Alice was soon left alone. "I wish I had mentioned Dina," she said to herself in a melancholy tone. "Nobody seems to like her down here, and I'm sure she's the best cat in the world. Oh, my dear Dina, I wonder if I shall ever see you anymore." And here poor Alice began to cry again, for she felt very lovely and low-spirited. In a little while, however, she again heard a little pattering of footsteps in the distance, and she looked up eagerly, half hoping that the mouse had changed his mind and was coming back to finish his history. Chapter 4. The rabbit sends in a little bill. It was the white rabbit, tripping slowly back again, and looking anxiously about as it went, as if it had lost something, and she heard it muttering to itself, the bushes, Oh, my dear pals. Oh, my food and wish cares. She'll get me executed and sure a ferret are ferrets. Where can I have dropped them? I wonder. Alice guesses in a moment that it was looking for the fan and the pair of white kid gloves, and she very good naturally began hunting about for them, but they were nowhere to be seen. Everything seemed to have changed since her swim in the pool, and the great hall with the glass table and the little door had vanished completely. Very soon the rabbit noticed Alice as she went hunting about and calling out to her in an angry tone, "Why, Marianne, what are you doing out here? Run home this moment and fetch me a pair of gloves and a fan. Killed now." And Alice was so much frightened that she ran off at once in the directions in pointed to without trying to explain the mistake that it had made. "He took me for his housemaid," she said to herself as she ran. "How surprised he'll be when he finds out who I am. But it better take him his fan and gloves. That is, if I can find them." As she said this, she came upon a neat little house, of the door of which was a red truss plate with the name "Wild Rabbit" engraved upon it. She went in with tongue and knocking and hurried upstairs in great fear lest she should meet the real Mary Ann and be turned out of the house before she had found the fan and gloves. "How good it seems," Alice said to herself, "to be going messages for a rabbit. I suppose Dinah'll be sending me on messages next." And she began fancying the start of things that would happen. "Miss Alice, come here directly and get ready for your walk. Coming in a minute, nurse. But you're going to watch this mouse hole till Dinah comes back and see that the mouse doesn't get out. Only I don't think," Alice went on, "that they let Dinah stop in the house if it began ordering people about like that." By this time she had found her way into a little room with a table in the window, and on it, as she had hoped, a fan and 2 or 3 pairs of thin with kid gloves. She took up the fan and a pair of the gloves and was just going to leave the room when her eye fell upon a little bottle that stood near the looking-glass. There was no label distinct with the words "Drink me," but nevertheless she uncorked it and put into her lips. "I know something interesting is sure to happen," she said to herself. "Whenever I eat or drink anything, so I'll just see what this bottle does. I do hope it'll make me drown lodgers again, for really I'm get tired of being such a tiny little thing. I did so in the end, and much sooner than she had expected. Before she had drank half the bottle, she found her head pressing against the ceiling, and had to stop to save her neck from being broken. She hastily put down the bottle, saying to herself, "That's good enough. I hope I shan't grow any more. As it is, I can't get out the door. I do wish I hadn't drunk quite so much. Alas, it was too late to wish that." She went on growing and growing, and very soon had to kneel down on the floor. In another minute there was not even room for this, and she tried the effort of lying down, with one elbow against the door, and the other arm curling round her head. Still she went on growing, and as a last resource, she put one arm out of the window and one foot of the chimney, and said to herself, "No! Now I can't do no more whatever happens. What will become for me?" Luckily for Alice, the little magic bottle had now had its full effect, and she grieved no longer. Still it was very uncomfortable, and as there seemed to be no sort of chance of her ever getting out of the room again, no wonder she felt unhappy. It was much pleasanter at home, thought poor Alice, when one watches always growing larger and smaller and being ordered about by mice and rabbits. I must wish I had gone down that rabbit hole. And yet, and yet, it's rather curious, this sort of life. I do wonder what can have happened to me. When I used to read fairy tales, I fancied that kind of things never happening, and now here I am in the middle of one. There's ought to be a book written about me, that there ought. And when I grow up, I'll write one. But a young grow up. Oh no, she added in a sorrowful tone. Alas, there's no room to grow up any more here. But then, thought Alice, shall I never get any older than I am now? That'll be all comfort one way, never to be an old woman, but then always to have lessons to learn. Oh, I shouldn't like that. Oh, you foolish Alice, she answered herself. How can you learn lessons in here? Why, there's hardly room for you, and no room at all for any lesson books. And so she went on, taking first one side and then the other, and making kid a conversation of it all together. But after a few minutes, she hears a voice outside, and stopping to listen. "Marianne, Marianne," said the voice, fetch me, my gloves this moment." Then came a little pattering of them on the stairs. Alice knew it was the rabbit coming to look for her, and she trembled. Still she struck the house, quite forgetting that she was now about 1,000 times as larger as the rabbit, and I had no reason to be afraid of it. Presently the rabbit came out to the door and tried to open it, but as the door opened inwards and Alice's elbow was pressing hard against it, that attempt proved a failure. Alice here it said to itself. Then I'll go round and get in at the window. That you won't, thought Alice, and after waiting till she fancied she heard the rabbit just under the window, she suddenly sprang over her ham and made a snatches in the air. She did not get hold of anything, but she heard a little string and a fall and a crash of broken glass, from which she concluded that it was just possible it had fallen into a cucumber frame or something of the sort. Next came an angry voice, the rabbit's. Pat, Pat, where are you? And then a voice she had never heard before. Sure, then I'm here, digging for apples. Here, Honor. Digging for apples, indeed, said the rabbit angrily. Here, come and help me out of this. Sound of more broken glass. Now tell me, Pat, what's that in the window? Sure, it's an arm, Her Honor. He pronounced in a room. An arm, you gasped. Whoever saw one that size? Why, it fills the whole window. Sure, it does, Her Honor, but it's an arm for old Tad. Well, it's going to no business there at any rate. Go and take it away. There was a long silence. After this, Alice could only hear whispered nods and then just as, Sure, I don't like it, Her Honor, at all. Do as I tell you, you coward! And at last the spirit out her hat again and made another snatch in the air. This time there were two little squares and more some of broken glass. What a number of cucumber frames there must be, thought Alice. I wonder what they'll do next. As for pulling me out of the window, I only wish they could. I'm sure I don't want to stay in here any longer. She waited for some time without learning anything more. And last came a rumbling of little cart wheels and the sound of a good many voices and talking together. She made out the words. Where's the other ladder? Why, I had to bring but one. Where's gone the other? Bill, fetch in here, hat. Here, lad. Here. Pat him up and this corner. No, them together first. They don't reach half his enough yet. Oh, they do well enough. Don't be particular. Here, Bill, catch hold of this rope. Will the rope bear? Mind that loose's tail. Oh, it's coming down. It's belong. A low crash. Now, Who did that? It was Bill, I fancy. Who's to go down the chimney? Nay, I shan't. You do it, that I want them. Bill's going to go down. Here, Bill. The master says you've got to go down the chimney. Oh, so Bill go down the chimney, has he? Said Alice to herself. Why? They seem to put everything about Bill. I won't be in Bill's place for a good deal. This fireplace is narrow to be sure, but I think I can keep it a little. She drove her foot as far down the chimney as she could, and waiting still, she heard a little animal. She couldn't guess of that sort it was. Scratching and screaming about in the chimney close about her, then saying to herself, "This is Bill." She gave one sheer peeking and waiting to see what would happen next. The first thing she heard was a general chorus of "There goes Bill." Then the rabbit's voice alone. "Catch him! You by the hedge!" Then silence, and then utter confusion of voices. Hold up his head, Randy, now. Don't choke him. Who was it? Our fellow. What happened to you? Tell us all about it. That's kind a little feeble kicking voice. That's Bill. Talk, Alice. Well, I hardly know. No more, thank you. I better know. But an idea too Forrester to tell you. All I know is something comes at me little a jack in the box. And up I goes like a ski rocket. So you did, old fellow, said the others. We must burn the house down, said the rabbit's voice. And Alice called out as loud as she could, "If you do, I'll set din at you." There was a dead silence instantly, and Alice thought to herself, "I wonder what they will do next. If you had any sense, they'd take the roof off." After a minute or two, they began moving about again, and Alice heard the rabbit say, "A barrowful will do. To begin with." "A barrowful of what?" thought Alice. But she had not long to dawn for the next moment. A shower of little pebbles came rattling in out the window, and some of them hit her in the face. "It put a stop to this," she said to herself, and shouted out, "You'd better not do that again," which produces another tense silence. Alice noticed with some surprise that the pebbles were all turning into little cakes, and they lay on the floor, and a bright idea came into her head. "If I eat one, the test case," she thought, "is sure to make some changes in my size, and as it can possibly make me larger It must make me smaller, I suppose. Sushi is swallowing one of the cakes and was delighted to find that the vegan is drinking directly. As soon as we was small enough to get through the door, they ran off out of the house and fought kite around and little animals and birds waiting outside. The poor little lizard Bill was in the middle, being held up by two guinea pigs who were giving him something out of a bottle. They all made a rush at Alice the moment she appeared, but she ran off as she called, and soon found herself safe in a thick wood. "The first thing I got to do," said Alice to herself, and she wandered about in the wood, "is to grow to my right size again, and the second thing is to find my way into that lovely garden. I think that will be the let's plan." It sounded an excellent plan, no doubt, and very neatly and simply arranged. The only difficulty was that she had not the smallest idea how to set about it, and while she was peering about anxiously among the dress, a little smart bark just overheard her made her look up in a great hurry. An enormous puppy was looking down at her with large round eyes, and vaguely straightened but one paw trying to tug her. "Poor little thing," said Alice in a coaxing tone, and she tried hard to whistle to it, but she was terribly frightened all the time, all the thought that it might be angry, in which case it would be very likely to eat her up in spite of all her coaxing. Hardly knowing what she did, she picked up a little bit of string and held it out to the puppy, whereupon the puppy jumped into the air on its feet in once, with a heap of belling, and rushed out the stick, and made believe to worry it. Then Alice would get behind a great deal to keep herself from being run over, and the moment she appeared on the other side, the puppy made another rush at the stick and tumbled her over heels in its hurry to get hold of it. Then Alice, thinking it was very like having a game of playing with a cart horse, and expecting every moment to be trampled under its feet, ran round the twists again. Then the puppy began a series of short charges of the skip, running a very little was forwards each time and a long way back, and working hoarsely all the while, till at last it sat down, a good way of painting, with its tongue hanging out of its mouth at its great eyes offshot. This seemed to Alice a good opportunity for making her escape, so she set off at once and ran till she was quite tired and out of reach, until the puppy's bark suddenly sounded quite faint in the distance. "And yet, what a dear little puppy it was," said Alice, as she leaned against a buttercup to rest herself and fanned herself with one of the leaves. "I should have liked teaching it creaks very much, if it only been the right size to do it. Oh dear, I nearly forgotten that it got to grow up again. Let me see. How is it to be managed? I suppose I ought to eat or drink something or other. But the great question is what?" The great question certainly was what? Alice looking around here at the flowers and the glasses of grass, but she could not say anything that looked like the right thing to eat or drink under the circumstances. There was a large mushroom growing near here, about the same height as herself, and when she had looked under it, and on both sides of it and behind it, it occurred to her that she might as well look and see what was on the top of it. She stretched herself up on tiptoe and peeped over the edge of the mushroom, and her eyes immediately met those of a large blue caterpillar that was sitting on the top with its arms folded, quietly smoking a long hookah, and taking not the smallest notice of her or of anything else.